All right, well, I'm going to start running through this track then. I'm going to start by just playing it from the beginning. This is my track. It's called Feelin It, featuring Starlito, who's a rapper from Nashville, Tennessee, where I'm from. And Lito is an absolute legend. He has a song with Lil Wayne, a bunch of stuff like that. You may or may not recognize his voice, but he has such a great voice, and he really set this song off. But I'm going to go ahead and start. We'll start with the playthrough.
Told me hype it up, okay, I'm overqualified. Told me hype it up, okay, I'm overqualified.
Cool. So that's the song. You can see there's a fair amount of stuff going on here. I'm going to, if you're watching and you have questions about something specific, I'm happy to talk about anything. It's a safe zone for questions, new questions, experience, artist questions, whatever you want, music related, life related, any of that stuff. So feel free to just kind of comment. And if you got a question on anything, I'm happy to talk about it. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of go left to right and explain kind of my thought process about each section and what went into it. So this beginning section, I've got these intro drums. I'll play them for you. what's going on here is it's just a loop that I got that's like this kind of old school loop. And I didn't think the snare was strong enough, so I layered a snare on top of it with a bunch of reverb on it just to kind of glue the whole loop together. And I've compressed this loop to where I'm getting about 10 decibels of gain reduction, I would guess. Helps kind of glue all of any sort of like live instrument type operation you have together. So that's the intro drums. So some of the synths here. This is just a bass from Mosaic by Heaviosity, which is a really bomb contact bank. Just really liked this bass and thought it was really cool. So that's kind of my intro bass. And then I've got this melody that kind of is the carrying element of this that I made in Serum, I think. Yeah, so this is just 2 square waves detuned in a plucky shape with the envelope. With a delay on it and some low cut. And that's our intro. A thing that I like to do a lot when I'm writing melodies is have something, you know, fairly repetitive. Like this melody never changes, but the bass line changes and that helps it progress through. So that's like kind of how I like to execute on a simple idea. And then effects. I've just got like these chants that I always put in underneath everything. It just kind of helps mush everything together. It's just kind of background space. It's not really doing too much. And then I start to introduce a vocal.
I'm feeling it, I'm feeling it, I'm feeling it, I'm feeling it, I'm feeling it.
With just some delays and a little alter boy to pitch it down.
I'm feeling it, I'm feeling it.
So that's what's going on there for my introduction. And then I've got this kind of pre-breakdown. I guess this is just the breakdown. So this is a pretty high energy section, right? I've got the pluck. I've kind of created this call and response situation that's going on right here. So I've got, again, my pluck melody and then just a respace playing the root note. But what I'm doing is automating this reverb to fly up. Where is it? I guess it's here. So I've done a reverb throw on this group with the pluck and the respace so that it throws up at the end and then cuts off hard when that bass comes in. That hard cut. That's why in this situation, I think it's better to have the reverb on the track as opposed to being on the send, because you can cut it off and have it come and go as aggressively as you want. And then I've had this response bass, which honestly sounds kind of garbage on its own, but in the mix, it makes sense. So I've got the tonal layer, which is probably just 2 sine waves. Yeah, so this patch is 2 sine waves, a few octaves away from each other, with distortion. You know, there's not much else going on here. I have this big rack that's kind of really making it aggressive, and that's what's actually going on here. Without it, it's kind of empty. So all the stuff that's in here is mapped to different things, but the vast majority of what's going on here is in just multiple OTTs, some compression, and then a wave shaper. All that these, I like to have these racks. It's just like the rack that you'll see a lot in this project, which is what's called the Max rack. I just call it the Max rack because that's my name. But basically, it's just a rack that can make a sound louder without changing the tonality or making it anything different than it really needs to be, besides just being louder, which is really what needs to happen. So 3 OTTs, like no crazy settings. They're all like slightly different. And then this make it loud mastering preset, which is really just a soft clipper, which helps it from distorting. And then finally, I've got a saturator here at the end that has a drive knob mapped here, but I never mess with it. It's really just used to soft clip. So yeah, that's what's making this sound aggressive. I have soothe on here at the end to get rid of some of this aggressive high end that's in this sound. And then I have, again, a small amount of reverb just to blend it in. And then this is the layer patch, which is completely atonal, which is kind of the same concept, but just square waves. Yeah, that's it. There's actually nothing else in here. So, and then the reverb again, and then some simple kind of cutting out the highs, soothe again, cutting out the super highs that are really aggressive in the sound. Use a lot of awesome reverbs / delays on your sound. What's your approach to leaving space in the mix? And how does that allow the effects to be more exaggerated? In this situation, like what I'm doing with the throw is I'm just using it to fill a gap. Like if we just solo this group here with all the sounds in it. So if this reverb isn't on this throw, there's going to be a space right here, right? So like, so it really helps like kind of carry you into the response. All of my music is very call and response oriented, just like most people's electronic music. And I think that this is a nice way to carry it through. And then what we're doing in that space is filling it with a little bit of sweeping effects. They're going to be like, right, to really hammer home that response. So I've got an impact. Right, so that follows along where the basses come in. But I think the real like kind of tip for time-based effects is being able to have the option to just cut them whenever you want to. Like a lot of times when you have a big reverb or a delay, they carry over and you lose the effect because there's just reverb and delay everywhere. So if you use a rack, kind of like what I've done here, this automating rack where you just kind of automate the mix and then turn it right off, you're able to make the reverb, like for example, in this reverb, this is probably a big reverb. Yeah, this is a 6-second reverb, which is like hella big. So like if you just cut it, doesn't matter what the size is because you're turning it right off, right? So you can make a really big reverb and get that big reverb effect. Right? So that's really impactful to throw these big effects and then just take them away. And then I've got a sub layer underneath this section here. So and then instead of going like straight into another breakdown or a buildup, I have this kind of gap space here, which is kind of just like a bunch of effects stacked on top of each other. There was really no rhyme or reason to this. Right, so I've got, and then this fill. So like this is the whole thing here. With, there's a little clap loop. Right, so I've got this little fill that kind of is like one of the carrying elements throughout the track, which is this Tynan, like a piece of a Tynan drum fill that I just slammed OTT on and made it really aggressive. So yeah, so that's that. And then this is the section where the song actually kind of becomes a song. Like if you look at the arrangement here, it's kind of like intro, I don't know what this is, or this, but this is like kind of where the beef is, right?
Feeling it, don't know what's meant for me eventually. I don't want this night to end, I'm lifted off the energy. Trying to make new memories, that's if I can't remember. I just want.
So for this section, this is where I kind of introduce like the signature Protohype sound, which is this kind of up and down legato bass that I use in basically every song that I hold so near and dear to my heart. And if you look at where the spacing is of this reverb throw, it's in the exact same spot. So I'm keeping with the arrangement of the gaps. So the gap is here at 31, gap is here at 19 halfway through. So it's kind of in this, it's in the exact same spot. So I'm doing the same effect again, this reverb throw. So it almost feels like there's a note in between there, right? In this gap where there is no note, there's reverb, which is actually a note. You know, it's playing this last note. So that's a really cool thing that I always love to do, is just to use reverb as an instrument, you know? Reverb is the best thing that you could ever do to fill space of anything, you know? That's just what reverb is best at. So here's some of the other sections. So this is when I guess I'll walk you through the vocal processing here, because this is when the vocal comes in.
Feeling it, I'm feeling it. Don't know if it's liquor or adrenaline. I'ma get what's meant for me eventually. I don't want this night to end, I'm lifted off the energy. Trying to make new memories, that's if I can't remember. I just wanna have a good time.
So let me kind of show you what's in this group. Let me just kind of show you the drive, the no processing on the vocal.
I'm feeling it. Don't know if it's liquor or adrenaline.
And then I have the reverb throw there again, because there's a gap, right? So the processing that I have here, I'll walk you through it. Let me make sure this is like all on the screen and shit. Yep. Okay. So yeah, so vocal processing. I've got a low cut. I always make sure that I low cut before I do anything, because if you compress on an uneq'd sound, you're just gonna compress part of the sounds that you don't really want to hear. So there's that, and then I have the FabFilter Pro DS, which is a de-esser, kind of getting rid of the low stuff here. And then I have another de-esser. This is kind of I can't remember the last time I did this, but it seems to work, right? So I have you've chosen the low range and the high range. I guess this low range is kind of completely pointless. Don't look at that. It's not doing anything, but this is taking care of the sibilance in the high end. And then I have my favorite vocal plugin in the world, which is called CLA Vocals. It's by Waves. It's really cheap. Chris Lord-Alge is a legendary mixing engineer. And this plugin is just like an all-in-one, got everything in it type of plugin. I will play you this chain kind of piece by piece here. And I'll show you kind of how it progresses. And you'll see what happens when CLA turns on.
I'm feeling it. Don't know if it's liquor or adrenaline. I'm feeling it. Don't know if it's liquor or adrenaline. I'ma get what's meant for me eventually.
You can see that it starts to really get that bite. And if you're listening to this in headphones, you'll hear that this is on the left side. It's because I doubled it and panned them out in typical like kind of hip hop fashion, because I feel like that was the vibe. So I've turned off the reverb here because I'm using my own reverb. But yeah, so that's CLA Vocals. Plugin is insane. If you don't have it, you should get it. It's like $35 or something like that. It's a game changer. And then I have stage 1 where I'm compressing. When I compress vocals, I normally am just looking to get about 9 or 10 decibels of gain reduction. And then I'm making that number back up with the makeup gain. And this is what it sounds like.
Feeling it. Don't know if it's liquor or adrenaline. I'ma get what's meant for me eventually.
So there's that. And then here's the reverb. I'm running this reverb on a parallel send. I like to do that with vocals. I'm using the Valhalla Vintage Verb, which is like my favorite reverb, especially for vocals.
Feeling Feeling it, don't know if it's liquor or adrenaline. I'ma get what's meant for me eventually. I don't want this night to end, I'm lifted off the end.
And then I've low cut the reverb itself. So there's no low end in the reverb, which is what I like. Then I've got delay.
Feeling it, don't know if it's liquor or adrenaline. I'ma get what's meant for me eventually.
It's very subtle. Again, it's the Valhalla delay on 1/2. And then soothe. Again, kind of shaving off some of the highs, some of the harsh frequencies. I'm also using this plugin called Lossy, which you'll hear later on in the track, by this company called Goodhertz. And this is just an effect that I'll show you later on. It's basically like a telephone effect. Yeah, and that's that for the vocal processing. Okay, there's actually one more layer to this. I'm using RVox, which is another Waves plugin. Again, this is a plugin that is kind of spammed in the hip hop world, and so I thought I would use it and it would make sense, and it sounded good. It's just a little bit of extra compression, and then a little bit of kind of cutting, no boosting, and then FabFilter Pro MB, which is compressing the low mids to bring them down a little bit because it just was very hot in that section. And then a mid-side EQ, which is probably not needed, but doing the thing. Okay. And I just got this groovy hat thing.
What's meant for me eventually. I don't want this night to end, I'm lifted off the energy. Trying to make new memories, that's if I can't remember. I just wanna have a good time, and that's all the time. She was ready to throw it all away, now we caught a vibe. I am not myself right now, but I do not apologize. Proto told me hype it up, okay, I'm overqualified.
So that's the build up. I'll play you what the song was before I got the vocal. So I made this whole song and then I got the vocal on top of it and then kind of worked the vocal into the song. The song was actually called Snoot Boop. And I use this text to speech thing just in reference to dogs. I like dogs more than anything. So this is what it sounded like before. It's funny that I played that for him and he still liked it. But so there's some other elements that are just brand new in this build up. The main one being this string. It's just a little run matched with this bass, which is giving rhythmic interestingness. And then this note, which is like my favorite note. So I'm in, like, what scale am I in? Let me tell you. Definitely E minor. So G sharp, to my knowledge, is not in E minor. And I just thought it was like kind of like an end of the world ass note, which I really liked. I like to use notes that aren't in the scale. And I think that little is kind of like almost like a Mozart-y classical note, which I love to have, and also just kind of matches the strings. So I'll play it one more time when you can hear this note. So the last thing that kind of fades in, that really ties it and tells you there's a drop coming, is the screech. So I took it back from the intro and I low pass filtered it in. And that kind of is like, oh, a drop is coming, you know? So we'll play it one more time, all this shit together. And then a bunch of risers. All of the drums are a very traditional drum pattern.
I just wanna have a good time, and mess all the time. She was ready to throw it all away. Then we caught a vibe. I am not myself right now, but I do not apologize. Proto told me hype it up, okay, I'm overqualified.
So we'll talk about the sound design a little bit in this drop. The first sound is this respace, which is not much to it. The classic 2 sine waves. Actually, that's like a very strange text. Is that chorus? Why? It sounds so odd. It's thermal. I'm using thermal to just make some weird texture on top of it. But what I like is this vocal that's layered on top. It's from Arcade. Arcade is just like the best plugin ever. I use this plugin for so much inspiration. And you'll hear it throughout the song because it's such a just like a simple thing to add. And I'll walk you through some of the vocal processing on it. Let's go to the where it's a little bit deeper. I mean, that's like a Skrillex vocal chop, right? So basically the way the Arcade works is they have these it's all the different banks, and it's not just vocals, it's a bunch of different things. But I'm using the one of the vocal banks. And whenever you have MIDI, the first thing you do is you lock in your key. So I guess I'm in A minor, which is a cursed key. Don't tell anyone to write in A minor. So those are not the rules. Anytime you're playing, let me just lock this in now that I'm in Ableton 12. I can do this. And then you can see, so anytime there's a white key, so anytime you play a white key, you get a sound. Anytime you play a black key over the white key, it edits it. So like that chop there, all of these black keys are editing it. It's kind of like a stutter effect. So just bomb. Arcade is bomb. So that's the first sound in the drop. And then this is my response. There's a few layers to this response base. 3 to be exact. The main one is this one. This bass is just a saw to saw FM from B sound. Right, and I'm playing just a melody, right? That's the melody. And then I've got it layered with another bass that I made in Serum, which is just a stock Reese mess kind of low mid layer. Kind of a bad sound, but it's just there to support the low mids because this is such a high sound, right? So, and then I've got one more layer. That's kind of cool, actually. This sound is, what's making this sound interesting is the modulation of these octaves. That's what's kind of giving it that robot effect. And it's also linked to the sync, and that's the patch. You can steal the patch away. But the thing that is really making it pop off is ring mod. Gives it that almost like a Yoi effect. And then the max rack is on there. So all of these three together sounds nice. And then I have my external sub underneath. I always use a dedicated sub. That's just my vibe. then I've got the melodic section here. So I got my long boy, which you heard in the intro. Classic. Layered with this. And this is the original patch, I imagine. Yeah, so this is just a saw wave with a bunch of voices and a Combs filter. And I brought the melody back in just for like a little piece right here. So there's 3 layers on the downbeat there. So that's the drop, the main part of the drop. And then I have this kind of B section, which is probably my favorite part of the song. So I just took the intro melody, made those vocal chops that I went over earlier, and kind of went crazy on the respace. So that note, that's that G sharp. That's like the weird medieval ass note. You know what I'm saying? And then I just have, I swear this is just an init patch. Yeah. So it's a square wave and a saw wave, one voice. Just a few harmonies, right? So yeah, all those together makes it just a really fun melodic vibe section. And then I've done a bunch of things with the vocal here, which like I added in after I got the vocal back. So I couldn't get the vocal to delay the way that I wanted to, so I did it manually. Left, right, left, right. Like this in theory is what a ping pong delay looks like, but like I just felt like doing it by hand. And this is where lossy comes in. Basically, it just decreases the bit rate, and there's a bunch of different really interesting presets in lossy, but this one I just thought was really cool. Like if I go to 100% here, I've got it at 40, but and then as it goes on, I'm using, where is elastic pitch? Elastic pitch to pitch it down. And this is just a pitch plugin. Yeah, great writing. That's my favorite part, songwriting. Like to me, this section I'm walking through right now is a whole lot more interesting than this drop, but that's just me. So yeah, that's the combination there. The drums are very straightforward in this song. I guess I haven't talked about the drums yet. Got one kick drum. I'm doing some transient shaping with attack up and sustain down. And then I've got 3 little snares here. It appears to be 4 snares. These are all from the oversampled library. Oversampled has the best drums. So fun. Got a high clap, another clap. There's the main snare that you're hearing. And then I'm using a transient from a snare that I made a long time ago. Did I modify this? I didn't. I probably should have. Normally when I use my own transient, I will make it mono so you have another mono anchor. But you know. So that's that. And then I've got this kind of random tom. I don't know what that is. And there's another one down here. So these are all kind of the same type of snare, I guess. They're little tonal kind of trap snares. That's kind of what made the cut for me. And then I've got this bass for another section that we haven't heard yet. I kind of just was ADD brain hella during this, but this is just a bass from Substance, which is a contact bank by Output. You can tell I like the Output plugins. It's kind of arpeggiated low-end bass with trash on it, which I guess doesn't exist anymore. But the new trash just came out, but I haven't gotten yet because I really like this one, and that's fine. Feelin it, don't know if it's liquor or adrenaline. I'ma get what's meant for me eventually. And then the build up again. I just wanna have a good time, and it's all time. She was ready to throw it all away, and we caught a vibe. I am not myself right now, but I do not know it again. Proto told me hype it up, okay, I'm overqualified. The only thing that really changes in this drop is the response bass. So I have two basses. It's just a yoy boy. Square wave, peak with the low pass filter, LFO on said cutoff of the low pass filter, and then a downsample. It's really easy to change the vowel of a yoy just by moving the drive. That would be something a lot of times I'll automate. That actually sounds tight. I mean, they all sound good, right? I'm more of the yik fan as opposed to the yard, right? But that's just me. And then I have this kind of support element, which sounds like a dog barking. Two saw waves, FM from B. Not much going on here. Combs filter? No. And then reverb. So that's the conversation that's happening in this drop. So it's actually kind of two examples of, or like two different types of layering. In the first drop, we have three of the same track, the same MIDI at least, combining to make one bass sound. In this one, I've got one bass sound and another bass sound that are completely different, that are just kind of complementing each other rhythmically. And I think those are like two strong elements and approaches that you should take when layering. It's not always how many sounds of the same type can I make to make this thing sound full. It's more of like, what does it need? You know, understanding what is needed and kind of just doing whatever you want, honestly. So yeah, that's that. And then again, switching up the responses. Oh, that's not it. This is it. It's another sound that I use very often in my music. Double sine wave. There's not much to it. There's a reverb filter, which is probably carrying this bass. It gives it that kind of echo, which I really like. Distortion, multiband, hyper, not hyper, dimension. And then trash. Trash is a great thing. Anytime you make these low pass basses, you always want to make sure that you're like oversaturating and making them brighter at the end, if that's the type of vibe. I like to take a sound that's like not that interesting or like aggressive and do things to make it have energy. Another thing I'm doing here is Saturn. Without Saturn in Trash, it's missing that grit, the bite. So that's the layering there. And then this sounds to me like a Glork wavetable. Yeah, Glork Glonk. Best wavetables in the world. Glork Glonk. Shout out to Glork. Awesome wavetables. And that's that. And then there's this, which is the same section that we heard earlier. So yeah, that's the song. That's kind of the explanation of everything that went into it. Working with a vocalist is something that some people like don't really understand or get into when they're early in their career. It really is kind of about connections. And if you don't have connections, then going to a website like Sound Better or Fiverr to really take your song to the next level. Like this song, before Starlito was on it and it was just Snoop Boop, would it have been as good? No. Did I have to pay money? Yes. But it's like, what matters to you, you know? Save your money up, stack your bread, find a vocalist you like and work with them. That's what creating music is all about, in my opinion. I think music without vocals has a shelf life. Music with vocals does not. That is just my opinion on that. So yeah, that's the song. I will be joining Rising Icons for feedback in the future. And if you want to get my feedback on your music, I'd be happy to give it to you. And, you know, that's the vibe. So I look forward in the future to hanging out with all y'all, and let's get it. Much love. And I'll see y'all in this upcoming week and in the future for more feedback. Feel free to hit me up. If you guys are interested in mentoring, I do private mentoring, as well as you can join my Patreon at patreon.com/protohype. And yeah, one-on-ones all day, Patreon all day. My Patreons, I give away 2 plugins a month, which is pretty cool. Patreons get 5 extra entries in all the giveaways. So patreon.com/protohype. And yeah, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see y'all on the flip side. Much love.